Welcome back to another video from the Debate Room podcast. As you can tell by the title, we're doing our final NFL mock draft of the NFL draft cycle. And today we're joined by a special guest, JP Acosta from CBS Sports. I appreciate you for coming on today and sharing your expertise with the NFL draft. JP appears on CBS Sports, obviously, in their shows and notably pushing the PAL, which is a pretty popular podcast style show. They've had some NFL players on there and talk NFL draft, NFL free agency, all type of stuff. So JP, thank you for joining.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. We're getting down to the wire. We got 2 days left until the NFL draft. I'm super excited for it. I'm also excited to stop doing mock drafts because I feel like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, where he's trying to figure out all the possibilities. At this point, I'm ready to see what happens.
I am too. It's been a long time coming, especially this offseason. This is like that part of the offseason where it gets really boring right before the draft. But then after the draft, it's like a few months before like training, well, not training camp, but the preseason. So I'm excited to see how these teams get better. Excited to like rank the teams after the draft. We always do that. So and then I'm joined by Q, as always, my NFL guy. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna give JP the first pick as the guest. We always do that. Any draft we do, we give it. My bad. I don't know why I went like that. We give the guests the first pick, and then Q you get second, and I'll go third. And then we'll go in that order for the rest of the draft. So obviously, the Raiders have the first pick, and it seems like this has been made up for a while now. Ever since the Raiders got the first pick, we knew who was going first. So you can go ahead, and I'll select him whenever you're ready, JB.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to waste time here. I think it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. I mean, at this point, he's probably looking for apartments and housing in Las Vegas, and I think he's been able to do that since the national championship. But I think schematically, the pairing of Clint Kubiak with Fernando Mendoza, and I think under, I guess, I wouldn't say tutelage, but the advising of Kirk Cousins on the sideline, I think Kubiak is going to not want to play Mendoza right away and just let him grow at his own pace, which is going to really help him out. But I think schematically, the pairing of Mendoza and Kubiak makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. Whether you believe he's going to be like a true like franchise-changing quarterback or solid starter, I think he could be solid starter. Obviously, he gets the Matt Ryan comps and Jared Goff comps. Obviously, maybe not career, but play style-wise, tall, 6'5", in the pocket, make the reads, smart, intelligent. Like, I guess that would be the mold. Run the same offense that Shanahan, under center type situation. If he could just be serviceable, it could lead to better things for that team, especially if they get wide receivers right. They already got Brock Bowers, who's the top 3 tight end in the league. With the run game, if the run game hit, you got Ashton Jennings, who was a top 6 pick last year. I'm pretty sure he went 6. You in theory have 2 studs on offense, 2 type pillars. You need a wide receiver in there. You got your quarterback. Add to the offensive line. I think that Colton Miller be back after injury. I think they have a solid foundation. They'll build it up. Obviously, this is like a process. So this year, just testing the waters out. After probably next year, free agency and another draft class, they should be ready to hit the ground running. But yeah, sit behind Kirk, speak the language, learn everything like that. It's everything since, like you said, since the national championship game, been geared towards this. They're putting everything in motion. He's got in the playbook, so we know exactly what this is going to be.
I think that I'm not very high on Fernando Mendoza whatsoever, but I get a lot more confident in his outcome as a good starter in the league because of the situation he's coming into. You talked about Ashton Jennings, you talked about Brock Bowers, and they obviously are investing in this offensive line, giving Tyler Linderbaum $27 million, if I'm not mistaken, this offseason, which is far more than any other center. And he's one of the highest paid linemen in the league. So they're obviously clearly investing in him. And this is probably one of the best infrastructures a quarterback has came into, especially the Raiders quarterback, in a very long time. And then you have Kirk Cousins, who I think still has something in him to be in this league and play well. Obviously, you probably see Fernando Mendoza sometime this year. But having that ability to sit behind a Kirk Cousins, who has been here, done that, been in the league forever, been in multiple situations in this league, he can teach him how to get generational wealth for sure. So just having that leader Kirk, who I know understands the assignment, and the situation with Clint Kubiak as one of the best offensive minds in football. I'm a lot higher and a lot more confident on him being a quality starter in the league just because of the situation and infrastructure he's going to be going into. So if he was just going out there on the Browns, I would be much lower on him. But since he's probably going to get selected by the Raiders, I think that I'm pretty fine with him being number 1 overall pick. If he has a Jared Goff-esque career, that will be a borderline Hall of Famer because Jared Goff numbers is going to finish super high up there. Pro Bowls, some All Pros, maybe a Super Bowl appearance here and there. It's like that's a quality career. You can't. There's not a lot of players in NFL history have better careers than Jared Goff. So, I don't hate it at number 1. go ahead, Q.
You're learning. I like that. What we had number 2.
Yeah.
Smoke. They had a lot of news. I guess they canceled the meeting with David Bailey. I don't know if that was ever going to be the pick. Arvell Reese just seems like kind of chalk at this point. Linebacker, edge rusher, never hasn't spent a whole lot of time on either or, but he's a freak athlete. If he gets to whether Aaron Glenn is going to be there or not, at least if he's there and he's able to mold him and get the talent out of him, that's could be Micah Parsons-esque. But I mean, either way, you can't really go wrong right here. That's like one of the most talented out. Maybe Sonny Styles will go right here, but Arvell Reese might be able to get the bust of both worlds out of him.
I really like Arvell Reese. He's one of the 3 best players in this draft class, in my opinion. And I think that what he does and what he means for the Jets is he gives Aaron Glenn potentially at least a couple more years because you need to give him time on task. I think if you want him to be an edge rusher, you need to give him time to actually play at edge rusher because he didn't do that at Ohio State. I think in my opinion, I wrote a story about it for CBS, it is you don't want to limit the positions that he plays because in the modern defense where you have all these linebackers walking down on the line of scrimmage, changing the fronts and being able to shape and dictate the personnel and the plays that an offense will use because you can shift, manipulate your fronts. I think Arvell Reese can be sort of a skeleton key in unlocking that. And he also plays with so much power for a guy who's 240 pounds. It's almost like uncanny how strong he is. So there's no better advisor or someone to learn from at linebacker than Demario Davis, who the Jets just signed. And then you also have Kingsley Enagbari and Joseph Osai, who they signed a free agency this year, who also sort of feel very similar to David Bailey in how they win and where their limitations are. So I think if it comes down to Bailey versus Reese, it's going to come down to, do you want the guy who can help you be productive right now, or do you want to go try and hit the home run in a couple of years? I would go and hit the home run because I think Arvell Reese is just a better prospect, but he also answers a lot of questions for the Jets.
I think they could afford to take that risk due to the fact that they have a lot of draft capital between now and next year. I would say that they could take right now they could take that risk right now just because they have these 2 first-round picks, and I'm pretty sure they got 3 next year. So, yeah.
Exactly. The Jets are probably going to be a team where I'm I want to see what you are in 2028. This year, probably going to be a little bit of a wash. You might be fun with Geno Smith at quarterback, but I'm going to come back around 2028 after the 2027 draft and just see what happens.
Arvell Reese, I think that he's not Michael Parsons as a prospect. I don't know why Michael Parsons went that low. It's very clear he was going to be a really good player, but he is a freak athlete. And he is the rare freak athlete that is not rare. I'm sorry, I don't want to say that, but he pairs his freak athleticism with just being generally a very smart player. I don't think he's not a pass rusher. I think he knows that. He's admitted that he's not an edge right now. He had to really work on his technique to get there because he doesn't have a lot of moves right now. But I think that if you can teach him that, he becomes one of the most versatile defensive players in the league. Being an off-ball linebacker, being able to line up on the front 7 as well is just very valuable. And I think taking an athlete of his level is always going to be enticing for teams. So I don't have a problem with that pick whatsoever. It's just that you got to know what you're getting yourself into, and the Jets are years away, like you said. So I think they should be comfortable developing a talent like him. So I'm gonna go number 3. I think the Cardinals have had a right tackle problem for a while now, and I don't think this guy is the third best player on the board. However, I'm going to go with positional need here, and I'm going to go Francis from Miami. And I didn't say his last name because I don't want to butcher it. I don't like butchering people's last name. But we talk about just sheer size and athleticism. I think the technique needs to improve a little bit, but he's strong, he's big, and obviously he can protect the passer and protect the be impactful in the running game as well. Miami had one of the best offensive lines in the country, and he was a very big part of that. I think they'll have a few offensive linemen potentially going in the first round this year. So you want to shore up this right side of the offensive line. You have both sides protected for a very long time now. If he can hit on his draft pick, I think that he is not like super surefire as you want in a right tackle early on. Guys you play day one and draft this highly, you want them to be very, very surefire. Like this is a 10 to 15 year guy. But I do think if he can, I think he can move around the line. And if he hits, I think he could just be a all pro level tackle in his league. So that's why I'm going at number 3.
I think with Noah, he's such a fascinating sort of polarizing prospect because I wonder if he's more of a guard at the NFL level. I don't say that because of arm length issues. I know people, the whole Will Campbell thing, that's sort of like, oh, short arms, automatically a guard. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think he might be more of a guard because I think he has limited range as an athlete and as a pass protector on the edge, especially at tackle. And when you think about the guys that he's going to have to go up against in the NFC West, you have to go up against the Seahawks and their DeMarcus Lawrence. You got to go up against Chin and Nwosu. You got to go up against those Banshees in Seattle. You'll have to go up against Jared Verse, Byron Young, Josiah Stewart in Los Angeles. You have to go up against Nick Bosa and Michael Williams in San Francisco. I just worry that he doesn't have the range to play tackle, and he might be a better fitted guard. But the Cardinals also have a needed guard. So if you want to try and play him at tackle, you can see what happens. Go for it. If it works, sure. If it doesn't, you can move him to guard. I also wonder if this is a trade down spot, especially if their top 3 on the board are Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Jeremiah Love, which it seems like it is. I wonder if this is where the first trade happens. And if we get a team that gets really aggressive for one of those guys to move up.
Yeah, I heard they've been in talks to trade down, especially with they reportedly, even from Brett Veach's own mouth, that they've been trying to trade up as well. For who that may be, I don't know. Cardinals may be interested in Jeremiah Love, but they wouldn't want to take him at 3. I guess if they hoping somebody move up, but if they're stuck right there, fine taking an offensive lineman. Going to trenches is never a bad idea. Like you said, might be able to kick in the guard. And it's not like I don't want to make it like a ethnic or like racist kind of thing, but most of like the Pacific Islander like type linemen, they always end up playing guard. The only guard like lineman tackles out of college that played recently that really are like all pro tackles are Penny Sewell and Tristan Wirfs. But that don't mean you don't want to take a guard top 5. You want to take a tackle top 5. But if you get an all pro 10-year all pro guard, Hall of Fame guard at 5, okay. Or at 3, it doesn't really matter. Quentin Nelson is going to go to the Hall of Fame. Pretty sure he went like top 4, top 5. So it's still fine if you get a 10-year great guard. If he played tackle, he played tackle. If he ends up being a guard, I'm fine with that too.
All right, we got JP up at 4 again with the Titans.
So I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. Not way off the board, but if we know Robert Saleh, defensive head coach, new head coach of the Titans, and we also know what his defenses look like at their best in San Francisco and when he was in New York, they had a really, really good middle of the field presence whether that was Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, whether that was Quincy Williams and the final part, Jamie and Sherwood. They had really good inside linebackers. And Sonny Styles is the best player in this draft class. 6'5", 245-pound middle linebacker who runs a 4.46, super explosive, super rangy guy who converted from safety 2 years ago, and his instincts are still very good against the run and the pass. I'm going to go a little off the board here, and I'm going to go Sonny Styles.
I am not even mad at the pick. A lot of them just have him taking Jeremiah Love, but like you said, it's Robert Saleh. This is the defensive coordinator. That you need somebody other on the defense other than Jeffrey Simmons. Like Jeffrey Simmons can't be like you gotta for a good defense. You're usually able to tell say who their third, fourth best defender on their team is. I can't tell you who the third best defender on the Titans is. So Sonny Styles, with his range, athleticism, like you said, converted safety, so he can play all around the line of scrimmage and in the middle field. That'd be a perfect pick for Robert Saleh to start off this new regime. I don't think they're ready to take a Jeremiah Love at 4. So building the defense again, never wrong idea. He's going with Robert Saleh. That's should be a match made in heaven. Should be fine. He should have his middle linebacker for the next at least 5 years.
Watching Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles this year was like two guys that just flew around the field from sideline to sideline. Didn't make mistakes. That was, I think, the real strength of Ohio State's defense. Obviously, the secondary in general was just great. But mammoth of a man, he's huge. Him and his brother. So I don't hate it at all. And like you said, it's a good point that Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw was the captains of those defense, and what really made them that good, especially when they're especially when like Nick Bosa dealt with injury and they were still be able to maintain their level of defense because of how great those guys were. So if he can replicate that with Sonny Styles, I think it's a really good pick at 4. And Q, you are up at 5 with the Giants, who recently traded for a top 10 pick as well, another top 10 pick.
So
that's nice.
By the way, John Harbaugh starting off his tenure very beautifully. I know there's some people that have soured on John Harbaugh. There's some people that don't think that he knows what he's doing. May not think that he's not going to be at least competent for the Giants. I won't say who those names are, but now he has a chance to build his team how he wants. He wants people that want to be there, not people that don't. Dexter wanted the money. Maybe John Harbaugh really wanted him, but things happen. At this point, maybe they would have went Styles, but at 5, you have another chance to take who most people still think probably was a top 2 player in this class. Maybe positional value, but stray you away from that. But I don't think there's a lot of blue chip players in this class to be worrying about positional value. So I would be going Caleb Downs here at 5. They have a secondary issue. I know they had signed Javon Holland, they got Newbin, but you always play Caleb Downs in the nickel. Again, put him around the line of scrimmage, instinctful, and make plays around the ball. And that gives you other flexibility, especially since you got the 10 spot. So you take a blue chip prospect here and then you playing with house money, 4 picks later. So it could be a solid pick. No,
this is gonna be really weird, but I forgot that we need to say with like the first overall pick, I'm selecting. With the second overall pick, I'm selecting just for like TikTok, YouTube Shorts purposes. If we can do that, starting from number 1, that would be lovely.
Okay, so with the first overall pick, I'm taking Fernando Mendoza.
With the second overall pick, the Jets are selecting Arvell Reese.
All right, with the third overall pick, the Cardinals are selecting Francis Maui Noah.
With the 4th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans are selecting Sonny Styles.
With the 5th overall pick, the New York Giants are selecting Caleb Downs.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I forgot that we need to do that. We were just flowing, so that's good. As far as Caleb Downs, again, I think that he's the best player in the class. I've been maintaining that. I think he's the best player in the class. I'm a big positional value guy, so I'm not that high on safeties, but I think safeties can be very, very impactful to a defense. We got Kyle Hamilton. We got why am I blanking on the last name? I'm sorry?
Nick Emenwari.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. from the Seahawks, that just won a championship, where he's a very integral part of that defense. Safeties can be very, very impactful, especially the ones that can move across the field, especially ones that can, operate almost as a linebacker, rush the passer, tackle very well, go from sideline to sideline, operate in coverage, defend a deep ball, defend tight ends, like players that can have that versatility and aren't really lacking anywhere and just are blue chip prospects should be selected very high. And when you do redrafts, they are selected very high. So I think that this is a fine selection. I think he can go even higher. I think, especially if his medicals are fine, which they are. Caleb Downs is, I think, the best player in his class. Will he be that going forward in the redraft? I don't know, especially because of position of value and stuff like that. But I think that's a fine pick at number 5, especially considering it's a position of need for the Giants, and they have another pick to address other needs later on.
And I think when it comes to positional value, John Harbaugh has shown in his time with the Ravens, he doesn't really care about positional value. They drafted 2 safeties in the first round, in Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton. They've drafted off-ball linebackers early with Patrick Queen. They drafted Trenton Simpson early in round 2 or 3, I believe. They traded for Roquan Smith. I don't think John Harbaugh subscribes to positional value. So I think that's going to inform a lot of what's going to happen with the Giants draft. But Caleb Downs is a very Harbaugh player when it comes to football intelligence, and he doesn't miss tackles. And that was something that the Giants were sorely needing in 2025.
Okay. Now I'm here with the Browns, and I am kind of conflicted on what I'm going to do. I'm looking at a tackle or a wide receiver. For this team, but I do think that again, I'm a positional value guy, and I think that tackle is a top 3 most valuable position. I think protecting your quarterback is extremely important, even if you don't have your quarterback in the future, which I don't think the Browns do currently. So, but I'm going to go Spencer Fano. Sorry if I butchered your name. At number 6. 2 tackles in the top 10. Not sure that will happen, especially with some of the reports you've been hearing. But I just value protecting your quarterback, and I do think that both of these guys that I've selected here are potential franchise cornerstones at the tackle spot. And I think that a lot of people will have Spencer higher than Francis. So that's what I'm going to do at number 6 for the Browns.
I think Fano is a really interesting prospect because he's another guy who I think maybe will probably be better on the inside. And I think that's just because he might have a little bit more. I think he might have issues against power. And I think play strength and physicality is not his game, but he is an elite mover at the position. And he's going to be moving from right to left in Cleveland because they've basically done and signed every spot in free agency except for left tackle, which is sort of them telegraphing what they are going to do in this draft. So I'm curious on how he fares as a left tackle, but if you're moving a guy from right to left, he better be an elite athlete. Or if you're moving guys left to right, they are elite athletes because it's really hard to learn or relearn the footwork. And Spencer Fano is an elite athlete.
Let me say this. With the 6th overall pick, the Browns are going to select Spencer Fano.
Yeah, another tackle who I believe is going to play guard. Again, doesn't really have nothing to do with where he's from. It's just they're either like that. You got to be like, to play tackle, you have to be like very graceful because you got to be able to. You have to be athletic, but you're able to move and things like that. And sometimes, like, you got to just be able to have it naturally. And sometimes I just don't think they have it, especially in college. You're not going up against like NFL edges every single day, like every single like Saturday. So it doesn't really like matter. Like, you'll get beat on your matchups the day that you go up against like Texas or Ohio State, but like on every other week, you're not really dealing with like the greatest edge rushers, so you could probably pass it off. But I still, again, think he could be a great lineman, and it's the Browns who really need linemen. Like, they spent pretty much all their resources this offseason on linemen. So again, no problem building in the trenches, especially for a quarterback, whether it's if they're on a roster or they're gonna be on a roster next year. Never could go wrong with that. I understand the want to have like maybe a Cardinal Tate in that building because the wide receiver room is bare empty. But they have more picks, so they can always get that later on.
I also wonder if this is another trade back spot. The Browns have been wanting to trade back and get more picks. I wonder if that spot 6 and 3 are the spots where I think if you're going to see a team trade up into the top 10, it'll be trading up to 3 or trading up to 6. I think the Browns are going to try and get more draft capital.
Yeah, there was definitely a thought here to select who I think is the number one wide receiver in this class, Tyson, because I think he's number one wide receiver in this class. I'm sorry, and just the Cleveland storyline is just too good to pass on, honestly, with his brother playing for the Cavs. So, especially again, their wide receiver room is like literally Blair. I like Isaiah Bond, liked him in college, but not very high on him in terms of his NFL translation. Harold Fannin had a great year, but they definitely need weapons. So I wouldn't be mad if he might select the wide receiver right there for sure.
I think this one's going to be pretty easy. It's 7. With the 7th overall pick, the Washington Commanders select Jeremiah Love. This is the perfect spot for Jeremiah Love in the top 10, in my opinion, because the Commanders' offensive line is still very good. I think if we're looking at what went wrong for Washington last season, I think it's mainly the quarterback not being able to sustain himself after a couple of freak injuries, and the defense that came into the year being old and slow, continuing to be old and slow. Well, in offseason, in free agency, they went out and addressed a lot of their defensive issues, signed Leo Chenal, signed Odafe Oweh, Kayvon Chaisson, Amik Robertson. They have gotten a lot faster on that side of the ball, but all their moves on the offensive side of the ball I've been found very interesting. Rachaad White is now on the team along with Bill Krosky-Merritt, but a lot of those guys aren't really, I don't think they trust Krosky-Merritt, and Rachaad White is more of a running back 2 or 1B. Jeremiah Love fits perfectly here, and I think that he's the best offensive player in this draft class. I think his explosiveness, creativity, but I also think he can stay on the field on third down. He runs a really good route tree. He's a really good receiver, can block and pass protection. And I think you just give Jaden Daniels an easy button in that offense. They're not going to have to use his legs a lot, which I don't think they're going to want to moving forward because of how much he got injured this past season. So Jeremiah Love here feels like a home run pick.
Yeah, this spot I could have seen. You could have went like it could have been 3 options in my mind or 4 like that. I wouldn't have been upset with Jeremiah Love, because he's like one of the like a very, 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 I don't know if he's like one of the greatest running back passers ever, but he's like a very elite prospect. Like you said, can line up, play wide receiver, can block. There's a downhill rusher between the tackles. He's like Bijan-esque to me. So like you said, to stay on field on third down, that just helps their rushing numbers, especially that like for Jaden Daniels, like rookie year looked good, but it didn't come from running back production. Like it just came from Jaden Daniels. Like they needed a real running back. I said that after the season as well. I don't trust Bill. Rachaad White's a running back too, but he's also more of a pass catcher than like an actual like downhill runner. You need somebody to like really make that room, because now if Rachaad White's your second running back, now it's like it's a little better. And now you don't really need to address like wide receiver, because Jeremiah Love could catch the ball. Could have seen edge rusher, but like you said, they spent money this offseason on the edge, and they're speed rushers, so they got faster, they got younger. So I'm not fine with Love going here. Eventually, he was gonna go off the board. He wasn't going 20, and if he's gonna be a Hall of Fame running back, I'm fine with them taking a Hall of Fame running back, even if it doesn't mean they won a championship. This is a talent that you just can't like. This is some people's best like player in the class. You just can't let that keep sliding.
Yeah, I think it makes the offense really dynamic. We know this. I'm not a fan of drafting running backs in the top 10. I think that the Commanders have other needs they need to address, especially. But especially in this draft class, I don't hate it. Drafting what we think could be the best overall football player in the class at number 7 that's pretty good value, even if the positional value doesn't say that. I think that having that added element of receiving is very, very important for me when projecting running backs, because we're talking about trying to extend your shelf life. And if a lot of your reps aren't just running straight through the middle of the like running outside zone or just running straight through the A gap or whatever, you can actually line up outside. Yeah, I think it like extends your shelf life as an NFL player, as a running back, and it also offers versatility to your team, especially. And you need a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels to have easy reads, easy buttons in the offense. So I think it's a good pick. It's a good player. Time will tell to see how it pans out, because I think the Commanders need other stuff, but I don't dislike it at all for sure.
Okay, with the 8th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints will be selecting Ruben Bain. This became a need because their longtime, most likely Hall of Fame edge rusher just left the team, and you replace it with one of the most productive edge rushers in the class. Obviously, the arm length things were an issue. It was a talking point. I never played edge rusher, so I can't really tell you what's that gonna do for rushing the passer. They're saying it's like 1 percentile. I don't know what that means, but if the tape says he can rush the passer and the production said he can rush the passer, and it looked like he can rush the passer, because in the end of the game, it looked like he probably was the best player on the field. If all those translate, getting him at 8 and hope if he could play just as long as Cam Jordan did, then you won with the pick.
I think with Ruben Bain, people get lost in the arm length discussion without realizing that Ruben Bain wins, and a lot of his wins are the fact that he's so explosive off the ball and can get into guys' chests with his arms. He wins with leverage, which helps when you're not as tall. But he's really well built. He has the best hands in this draft class as an edge prospect. And I think edge is a really sneaky need for the Saints. I know everybody wants to put a receiver here, which, again, would make sense. But I do also think with edge, they have Carl Granderson, they have Chase Young, but they need another piece to add to that group, because that defense just needs a little more punch. So I like the addition of Ruben Bain here. I think it makes a lot of sense for New Orleans.
If you didn't select them at 8, I was going to select them at 9. I think the Chiefs need an edge rusher. Ruben Bain, I definitely subscribe to like the arm length worries, but his bend is insane. He's a very smart football player as well. He has a array of moves, and his production is undeniable. It's just undeniable. Like, obviously the sack numbers weren't there, but very high pressure rate. And you turn on the tape, he couldn't be stopped in college. I want to see how it translates to the NFL, but just the combination of an intersection of skill and athleticism for him was just crazy. Like, some of the best bend I've ever seen from an edge rusher. And you watch him and Arvell Reese compared, like rushing the passer, it was just like night and day difference in terms of technique, in terms of bend. So I like that pick for sure, Ruben Bain. We got the Chiefs. I'll be out there this this summer to see whoever they select here. They're in, obviously, I think, very, very grave need of a cornerback. Losing Jalen Watson, losing, I'm blanking on his name. I love him as a player.
McDuffie.
There we go. McDuffie. JP, I have these things where my mind goes blank as soon as I'm about to say somebody's name. But yeah, Trent McDuffie, just a versatile cornerback. Isn't like, he's good on the outside, but he's obviously a superstar in a slot, guarding tight ends, and that versatility he has as a player, I think just made him special. I think he probably was a top 7 cornerback in the league, all pro multiple times through his first 3 seasons. So losing him is obviously extreme. And I didn't want them to lose him, but just the contracts they did the last few off seasons came back to bite them. So now they're in a situation where Patrick's come back from injury, and also they need cornerbacks badly. They cannot walk into next season with their current cornerback situation. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Mansour Delane at number 9. So with the ninth pick, with the 9th overall pick, the Chiefs are going to select Mansour Delane. Very, very aggressive press corner, a receiver, very sticky. Not I wish he was like maybe like 6'1" and 5'11". Doesn't have like great size, but really good man coverage corner. I think he's really good in press coverage. Needs to clean up some of the zone stuff, especially guarding against like intricate concepts in zone. But I don't helmet scout, but it's kind of hard to bet against a LSU corner. And he has the size, athleticism, intelligence, intersection that I like out of cornerback. So I think that this is a very good spot for him. And I trust Spags. I trust this coaching staff to develop cornerbacks because they've shown they've done it over and over and over again. And I can't be swayed against picking a cornerback this high because they've shown they don't need to draft this high. They can draft him with the 23rd pick and then draft somehow a blue chip player at 23 just by developing them. So I can see them going wide receiver here. I can see them trying to go David Bailey here. But corner is a very big concern for them. And I think that getting the best corner in this class is very important. So I'll go Master Delane.
I think Delane fits a need at corner, like you said. And I think Delane, among the three corners, while I don't think he's my cornerback one, he has answered a lot of questions in ways that the other two corners haven't. Where Jamal McCoy has had a lot of questions about his health and his knee health. Avion Terrell has also had injury problems and ran a slow 40 at his pro day. Mansour Delane has answered all the questions I have about him. I think he fits really well with what Kansas City wants to do defensively. I also think if we're talking about teams that could trade up or trade down, the Chiefs are one of them to watch because they don't really pick here very often. So because they are now, I think they're going to try and be aggressive. So I just watch out for that coming on draft day.
I couldn't agree. That last part is what really important to me. Like you said, they shouldn't ever be in this spot right here. So like they're great at taking a 22nd pick or a 7th round pick and making them a starting caliber corner or all pro corner because they're forced to take the quote unquote worst prospects because they're winning Super Bowls or in the championship games, whatever the case may be. They're picking post 25. If you have a chance to get a truly talented corner at 9 and then still develop them, now it's a lot easier and it makes your life a lot easier than having to like really put all your resources into the 7th round pick so that way he can start on your team because you don't have no other cornerbacks on your team. But the Trent McDuffie move didn't surprise me. They've been known to do this. They've been doing it for years with corners. Did it with Snead. They did it with Marcus Peters. Like we just seen it before. But they should have him at least for the next 5 years. That's right smack dab in the middle, while Patrick Mahomes still should be out there winning Super Bowls. Can't go wrong with this. And they have another, like they still want to get an edge rusher or a D lineman, and they have another pick in the background to go fill that need. Because yes, they lost the All Pro, but you potentially picked an All Pro in the top 10, and you have another first round pick with that 5th year option that's very valuable.
Okay, so 10th overall pick. Before I make this pick, I want to preface with this is what I think might happen. And we remember that John Harbaugh never aligns to positional value. With the 10th overall pick, the New York Giants select Vega Ioane.
Oh.
Guard from Penn State. If you look at where the Giants are especially weak, right now, Daniel Falele and Evan Neal are currently in their 2 deep at right guard. At left guard, they currently are projected to start. They're currently projected to start, I believe, John Runyon. John Runyon and Aaron Stinney are in their 2 deep at left guard. That's not real. That's not how you keep Jackson Dart healthy. That's not how you help improve on that run game. I understand the receiver need, and it took a lot out of me to not take Carnell Tate here, but I do think John Harbaugh is going to be the main one with the say in the draft, and he has never aligned positional value. Vega Ioane might be the safest offensive line prospect in this class. He's super reliable as a guard. I do think there might be a little bit of limitations in space, but the dude wants to finish plays. He's super refined as a pass protector, and he's got really strong hands. You can play him at left guard, play him at right guard, just get him on the field. But left side of Andrew Thomas and Vega Ioane, I just run behind them 50 times and call it a day.
I forgot who I listened to while watching, but somebody on TV had said something with the Giants specifically that since they had the 5 and the 10, the 5th pick would be the pick that they made, whether it be Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, that like right here, right now, but then like that 10th pick make it. I think it was Colin Cowherd. He said take a tackle or take a guard, a lineman that's going to be there for 10 because you got to keep Jackson Durr because he spent half his time in the 10. And the more I heard it, and then you just said it just now, I'm like, okay, there's got to be like it's somehow it's clicking in like most people said that would make sense, and I understand because keep Jackson Dart healthy. You got Tyrone Tracy and Cam Skatter will hopefully get back and he's able to produce how he was. Need linemen, just to help the run game. Hopefully that adds help. And if you got protection, you got time, you got Malik Neighbors. You don't have to like spend another premium on a wide receiver because that's if he hits, you're not going to want to let him go. Now you got 235 million plus. So like everything just you could. And we've seen Jim Harbaugh, his brother. He could have took Malik Neighbors, took Joe Alt. Obviously, Rashawn Slater went down. Joe Alt slid to the right side, and they still had protection. Obviously, he went down too, but nobody could have foreseen 2, season-ending injuries. But as long as you're, especially that interior for quarterback, as long as everything's protected, I can't go wrong with you with the trenches.
It is very funny that the last time a John Harbaugh-led team had 2 first-round picks, they picked Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's following carbon copy of what the Ravens were doing, but I do think with Harbaugh in charge, like they're going to want to build Harbaugh's identity and get Harbaugh guys. And I think Ioane is one of the most Harbaugh guys in this draft.
Yeah, I think in terms of like Cardinal Tate on the board would be with Cardinal Tate. I just think that he is really positioned to be a number 2 guy in this league, right? I don't think he's ultra blue chip type of guy, number 1 X wide receiver, but having him on the opposing side of Malik Neighbors, and having that ability to also play in the slot, I think he's gonna be really good. If he's a number 2 in this league, quality route runner as well, big, strong. So I think that I definitely understand what you're saying with going guard. I think that Cardinal Tate, if he's here, it might be a little bit too enticing, especially considering Malik Neighbors' health. And we don't know if he's going to be ready and playing at his level week 1. And it's two sides you can go to it though, because you have supporting your quarterback with either protection, which may be more important considering how reckless he's been throughout his college career and the NFL, or getting him another weapon to make life easier for him that way. But either way you go, I think building around your quarterback with the infrastructure of talent, whether protecting him or just getting the ball out quickly, giving him more options down the field is very important here. So I think they may even go Jeremiah Love if he's still on the board. I don't think taking another running back is out of the picture, especially not for like Cam Skattable. All due respect to him, but that's not someone you don't take a running back for. If that makes sense. But I believe it's me with the Miami Dolphins. And this is an interesting spot because I feel like this roster is you. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
But yeah, with this roster, it's bland. It's bare. You can take I can take anybody I want to. And we just finished talking about Cardinal Tate. With the 11th pick, the Miami Dolphins will be taking Cardinal Tate. With the price of receiver that we're looking at, come that 3rd year, it's time get your money and whatnot. The fact that they traded away Waddle, the fact that Tyreek Hill's not there, the fact that you signed Malik Willis, but you gave him nothing to work with, whether I believe he should be a quarterback in the future or not. He has to throw to somebody. Give him somebody to throw to. 6'4" guy, 6'3", 6'4" guy is not a bad option who's still a top prospect in this class. Allows you to be a little bit less accurate because of catch radius and things like that. Like, need somebody take him here. They could have went corner. They could have went edge. They could have went tackle. They could have went anybody. But there's a wide receiver right there, and wide receiver has become one of the most important positions in the league now, especially with the boom of quarterbacks.
Another underrated aspect of this is the Dolphins currently have 3 receivers on the roster that are over 6 feet tall. That was a problem with the Mike McDaniel era Dolphins. They were all short and all small. And with Jeff Hafley bringing a very under center, very Green Bay Packers style of offense and very Packers style of athletic measurables, Green Bay has always been one of the most strict when it comes to athletic measurables and percentiles. They always want guys who are like 6'1" and above at a certain weight. They run a certain time in the 40. Carnell Tate checks all those boxes as a Green Bay Packers style receiver, and he also has the great body control, the ball tracking, and I think he constantly improved in his time at Ohio State. So I think this would be a home run pick for the Dolphins if Carnell Tate were to fall to them at 11.
Yeah, I like Carnell Tate. He's from Chicago, so shout out him. And I've been watching him for years now. I thought he was going to break out. Q can attest to this. I thought he was going to break out before he did. And he thrived really well getting single coverage next to Jeremiah Smith. That's why I'm so high on him being like a number 2. Just don't put the pressure on him to be like your franchise wide receiver. He will have that pressure in Miami, at least early on, with the unproven quarterback Malik Willis. But I think that he's a big, strong wide receiver, really good hands. Really good contested catcher, solid route runner. Not the greatest route runner right now, but potential to improve in that aspect. Doesn't have like crazy speed, but he's just so solid in so many places, which I just think sets a good baseline for a wide receiver, especially if you compare him with the actual alpha X wide receiver. So I like the pick. I am now with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think this team can go a multitude of different ways. I don't hate corner here. I don't hate linebacker. I do think I'm going to go with David Bailey and stop the slide from him. I think he'll probably go a little bit higher than this. I'm going to, with the 12th overall pick, the Cowboys are going to select David Bailey. I think that this is a really good athlete. He's one of the best. He's like maybe the best edge rusher in his class. I think that they'll be debated between him and Ruben Bain. Go ahead.
I said he had a historic pass rushing season, like a college pass rushing season last year.
Yeah, just in terms of like actual production, he was dang near with a Heisman candidate this year for Texas Tech. So just the production, the athleticism, size. He doesn't lack like the arm length that Ruben Bain does. That's not gonna be enough for me, at least, to put him over Ruben Bain in terms of my rankings. But this is a really great option for the Cowboys. I love the move they did at the trade deadline. I criticize Jerry a lot, but they honestly made out pretty well with the Michael Parsons trade. Getting Rashawn Gary, getting Quincy Williams, and just building this defensive unit up again when it struggled so much. It performed a little bit better after that trade. It couldn't be consistent, but adding David Bailey on the edge with the interior of their defensive line already, I think will solidify this defense as long as they can get a cornerback or two, honestly.
I'm not as high on David Bailey as a lot of people. I do think there are some limitations against the run, and I think he's a little bit stiff. But where he wins is he is extremely fast off the ball. Yeah. That's where all of his wins come from. He converts speed to power, and he's able to use an inside spin move that is based off of his speed. And that game-changing speed is something that I think Dallas needs in their defense. I think they just need the ability to force quarterbacks up into Quinnen Williams to give him some help. Because if Quinnen Williams is going to get the pressure from the interior, last season they didn't have anybody to flush the pressure out to. And David Bailey being right there is sort of a really nice pick for them. I would honestly, this is about the 12 to 17 range. I'd be more comfortable picking David Bailey here than picking David Bailey in the top 10. But right here, 12 at Dallas, I think that makes a lot of sense for them.
Hey, they're they're spent a lot of capital and money on their interior D line. Quentin Williams, he's a big body, can help stop the run. We know that as soon as he got there, that changed. Ezraku was good last year. Obviously, you still need another body. Again, issues with the stopping the run, but it's not nothing they haven't dealt with before. He's a pure edge rusher. He's going to get to the quarterback. That's exactly what you need. They have the middle of the middle of that D line showed up right now. So as long as they get those outside edges going, there should be perfect. They could have went corner here as well, but again, another team with the luxury of having 2 first-round picks in this draft, they can do whatever they want, and they have a high second-round pick. So there's plenty of options for them to go to get that secondary help. Getting a pure edge right here, right now in this range should be looked at as a home run. They're never going to criticize Jerry Jones for his first-round picks. Of it, the last 8 first-round picks they picked, only one has been a bust, and they used him in a trade to go get Quentin Williams. So it doesn't. I'm going to be fine with whatever they do at 12 in this draft, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree that the question with David Bailey is his run stopping ability to set the edge and stuff like that. But I think that they have a better floor this season against the run with the additions they made at the trade deadline. So I'm comfortable potentially allow him to grow there while already having people there to help make up for some of his weaknesses against the run. But they need athleticism on this defensive line for sure. So I'm gonna go there with that.
There's a lot of places I could go at 13 at the Rams. I've mocked them with Monroe Freeling multiple times. I think they're going to be in the market for a tackle, but I also don't think this guy falls very far. So with the 13th overall pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Jordan Tyson. I think when we look at what the Rams are, I think they are playing for both the short and long term. They have Matthew Stafford already signed to an extension, Devontae Adams still on the roster, but I think they're looking for somebody who can eventually take Devontae Adams' role as the separator X receiver to Puka Nakua's more Z, like he does the in-between stuff. He does the dirty work for that team. And I think Jordan Tyson being here, he has sort of a very volatile draft stock. I've seen anywhere from the top 10 to falling way out of the 20s. And I'm curious what his actual range is, because 13 might be where it stops. And if the Rams don't have to play him early, they don't need to. They can have him be sort of in the slot to start. But this is a play for the short and long term.
You said you was mocking tackle here. I've seen a lot of Mekhi Lemon because 3 wide receivers, whatever, put them on the field. Matthew Stafford, you go all for it, next year. I think if the go for it next year doesn't mean add 3 wide receivers, have 3 wide receivers. But if you're gonna add a wide receiver, I need a wide receiver that's gonna do something different than like the wide receiver that you got, not named Devontae Adams, but Puka Nacua, because he's, like you said, Z, anywhere from Z to slot. That's where he's gonna operate. Those in betweens and things like that. Jordan Tyson, I'm lining him up at X, and he can do whatever I need him to do. I think that's like the most valuable position at wide receiver if they can do it well. The injury things are concerned. Obviously, he missed a lot of time, but if he's right, he should be the best receiver in this class. Can separate, good ball tracking, get downfield, can work in an immediate, great route runner in my opinion. I think he's perfect wide receiver, like the best wide receiver in this class. I think he's like the perfect X, and I think, like I said, the most valuable position. But I wouldn't have been mad if they went tackle, just because it helps Matthew Stafford now, and it's going to help whatever quarterback here in 2028, if that's a rookie or Joe Burrow, somebody needs to protect him.
Yeah, I think Jordan Tyson is the best wide receiver in this class. They got size, athleticism, not like a super fast player, but really great route runner. The injuries and drops were concerns in previous years, but he's cleaned both of them up to a certain extent. And none of the health issues in terms of like the images and stuff like that weren't crazy at the combine or like that. We haven't heard anything where he has like a degenerative anything. So I think he'd be fine. And this is a luxury pick for the Rams because they're able to be Super Bowl contenders and then have a top pick because of other teams' incompetency. Don't get me started there with the Falcons. Yeah, I think it's a luxury pick, and it's kind of like a low risk, high reward thing, and having this multiple time cycle thing can work for them because they're so efficient at making moves on the margins. But I think kind of though actually this is a pick they need to hit on just because that they've done the after picks thing before. And having this pick at 13 is somewhere where you're not gonna be there that often. So hitting here is really important. But I think Jordan Tyson, it will be a hit and he will be a really good receiver. So I'm confident in them selecting here.
Okay.
Your Ravens.
I don't exactly know who I want here because I'm not picking just because I'm picking for the team. I'm picking because this is my team and I want it to be perfect, but I don't want to put the bias in it for like who may be on the board and like who I think should go here. Like we need interior offensive line for sure, but I don't want to take nobody right here. I need another corner, but I'm not desperate for another corner. I need a D lineman, but I'm not sure should I take a D lineman right. I need a wide receiver, but I don't need Mekhi Lemon on it because I have Mekhi Lemon on the team in a way. So it's like I'm at a loss.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Kenyon Sadiq.
And that's where I had to preface I didn't want to put my bias in it because I wanted to run and say, give me Kenyon Sadiq. Because not only Mark Andrews is on the pretty sure he's 30. You know what I'm saying? I still think he was better. I think he did more things for us than Likely would have done for us because Likely is more of like the newer receiving tight end. So he's out there trying to get targets, get downfield. Mark Andrews, possession, still block, do his thing. I'm going to take, with the 14th pick, the Baltimore Ravens are selecting Kenyon Sadiq because I can play him with Mark Andrews because he's essentially a bigger wide receiver. I can have Mark Andrews out there. I can have my fake X receiving Kenyon Sadiq, and I can still allow Zay Flowers to do his thing, how he does his thing. I think that if they pick Kenyon Sadiq, that screams to Lamar. We have real help. I understand it's not a wide receiver, but he's a weapon, and I think having an elite weapon, regardless of position, is very important. And this is one of the best plays in the class. The Ravens ain't dumb now. Malachi Starks falls on them, you take him. You know what I'm saying? Cal Hampton falls to us, we take him. And Kenyon Sadiq gonna fall for us. He's right there, and we don't see nobody else is even in the realm. You take him, and just I think no qualms with this.
The case for Kenyon Sadiq for the Ravens is incredibly easy to make. First, with Declan Doyle coming over from Chicago to be offensive coordinator, the Bears used 12 personnel at the 7th highest rate in the NFL last season. They lived out of 12 personnel. The other case for Kenyon Sadiq is with Kenyon Sadiq, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry on the field, you have the 3 best athletes on the field at almost every time on an NFL field. That you try and force an opposing defense to account for all the speed on the offense for the Ravens. You have to worry about Lamar Jackson. You got to worry about Derrick Henry. You got to worry about Zay Flowers. You got to worry about Sadiq. You got to worry about the occasional Rashad Bateman play. Mark Andrews is still contributing to the offense. There's so many different pieces and layers to the offense with Kenyon Sadiq, and I think he fills right in where Isaiah Likely left. Especially in the work that he does as an escort blocker, as a split flow blocker, where Isaiah Likely was really good. That's where Kenyon Sadiq is very good. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Ravens are going to deviate very much from consensus, and Kenyon Sadiq makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, I think Lamar would like an X wide receiver. So he's hurt that Jordan Tyson didn't fall to him one more spot. Especially when the Rams have wide receivers that they don't need anymore. But Kenyon Sadiq, like you guys said, almost might as well be another wide receiver for him. And I think he's a better version of Isaiah Likely in terms of like route running, fluidity, all that type of stuff. He has all that. So I think it's a good pick. I'm sure Lamar would be happy as long as they get like some interior offensive line stuff later in his draft, because you can't get the ball to somebody's just running straight at you and you don't have enough protection to get the ball to your tight end, to get the ball to Zay Flowers. But hopefully they can get someone like a Jordan Tyson, just because Lamar needs the actual X wide receiver that he's been looking for so long in his league. It's my turn with the Buccaneers. And I think the edge is the obvious, really big need for the team. Getting someone off the edge. I'm just not in love with anybody at edge here, this high at 15. And they don't. I don't think this team has like super big holes. Like the Buccaneers have had a solid roster, a good roster. Defense struggled at times over the past few seasons, but they've cleaned those areas up with great drafts and some quality free agent signings. So that's why I'm conflicted here with the Buccaneers. But we'll see.
So if I can offer something that I noticed when I was doing draft prep for the Buccaneers is they are one of the best teams in the NFL in pressure rate, but they are one of the worst teams in the NFL in sack rate. They can get pressure, but they have nobody who can finish plays. And especially when Kalijah Kancey got hurt, which again, he got hurt again, they didn't have anybody who could really create pressure. So I do think they might be looking for edge. I think they're looking for an edge defender, and I think they're looking for speed. There's one player. Go ahead.
Because you need something, that don't mean like reach for something, but that doesn't mean Kendrick Falk or Mesidor are bad players to take right here. I personally wouldn't take Mesidor, but that's because I have an age bias with that. Because if he's 25, 24, 25, by the time he gets that second contract, he's gonna be 30. If he's great for the first 2 years, 3 years, it's like, okay, I'm paying in his prime guy. I get it. But what if I had a chance to get somewhere close to that and he's 21? I'd rather do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that's why I'm a little. Yeah.
My other name I would add here is Malachi Lawrence from UCF. 6'4", 250, 34-inch arms, ran a 4.5 40, and has the speed off the edge. His problem is he is not very good against the run right now. And this is a pick where, like, you bring him in, you let him rush the passer, and you just teach him how to play the run. Because, again, not many guys, 6'4", 250, who run like the way Malachi Lawrence runs.
Yeah, he was rising up. And, like, with the run, I would love for him to set the edge. But the fact that you have a 300-pound guy in the middle of your defensive line, that already sets a solid floor for your run defense anyway. So, again, your edges, if you could teach them how to set the edge later, that's all fine, as long as they're productive and can get to the passer right away.
So just mentally go through the guys, the edge rushers here. I think that is a bit of a reach. I'm willing to do it. I'm going to take, with the 15th overall pick, the Buccaneers are going to select Cassius Out. I was going to go there. I think he needs to fill out his frame a little bit more. But this guy has really long arms, very quick off the ball. And the reason I went over him over Falk is because I looked at like the pass rush win rate numbers, and How's are better. And so he's more productive in terms of like getting to the passer. And like JP just said, they need to not only get to the passer, but sack the quarterback. And I'm more confident in Howard doing that at the next level. He got to clean up some of his technique stuff, but I think he was a better player last year at Texas A&M.
Yes.
And he's more productive. And an exceptional athlete in his own right. So I'm gonna go with just Cassius Howell at 15. I was going through a couple of names, and that's where I'll settle because I think that at this point in the draft, a lot of these guys are pretty close to each other. Where it's either like they're not great against the run, or they have this like not a fatal flaw, but like a little red flag where like this can go really bad if this is not developed. So when we start to get splitting hairs here, where I lean towards is production and college production and proven production and what you did your most recent season. So that's why I went with Cassius Howell.
Howell's a fun guy to watch because he's not a very smooth mover, but he's a really good finisher and when it comes to getting his pressures. Like if he doesn't get the pressure immediately, like he's really similar to a guy the Steelers would like on the edge. I actually think he's very similar to Alex Highsmith in the way that he wins, where he can finish and flatten really well. His problem is his arms are actually, I think they're historically short. Like I think that he has like his arms are shorter than Reuben Baines, and that it shows up more when you watch Cassius Howell than you do watching Reuben Bain, because Cassius Howell's not as big. But when you're the Bucs and you play 300-pound defensive lineman at every spot, you don't really need him to set the edge early. You can just have him be sort of like your pass rush specialist. So I like the pick here. I think it makes sense for Tampa.
Yeah, this is the area of the draft, like where, like you said, prospects are close and you're splitting hairs. This is the point where it's like when we have a need, we take them, and like I said, we already talked about. You got a bunch of big linemen down there. They're eating up blocks all the time. So get somebody with one-on-one. I just need you to win 6 or 7 one-on-ones a game, and that'll help us out. I think Cassius could do that. Who's next?
All right. I think I'm up next with the Jets. This one's kind of easy. I think this is if he's there, they should sprint up to the board. With the 16th pick, New York Jets select Mekhi Lemon at wide receiver out of USC. He is my wide receiver 1, actually. I love watching him play because, and normally I'm a guy who subscribes to big, tall, fast at receiver. If you're big, tall, fast, I can work with you and turn you into a receiver. I'm a Jaguars fan. I watched Andre Johnson beat up my favorite team twice a year for like a decade. But Mekhi Lemon plays so much bigger than his actual size, 5'11", 192. He plays strong. He's really good through contested catch situations and playing through contact, and he's strong after the catch. And I feel like in New York, he blends what Garrett Wilson and A.D. Mitchell do well together. So he's just like, in basketball, you have these guys that are they're like glue guys. I call them glue guys. Mekhi Lemon is the perfect glue guy that sort of can become a star in this offense.
Yeah, he's like you say, you see him. People are going to see him as a slot receiver because he does a lot of that. A lot of that work in the slot, which is dirty work moves. You 5 yard here, 6 yard here, a quick out here, but he takes those and he's taking them an extra 10. He'll fight off for extra 4. Great hands in the rain. We've seen that this year. Like he can do. He's very secure. And you got GW outside taking the top of the defense, doing his thing 20 yards down the field. Still got to account for what's the dude? My guy Adonai Mitchell. So now you're free. Mekhi Lemon should be free, and I totally forgot you had said Geno Smith is there. Like I forgot he was even there. So now you have an adult in the room, somebody that really could get the ball. Now he has a bunch of places to go, and safety blanket Mekhi Lemon is right there. Should be really fun. Should be perfect. I've seen this mock before. That should be fine. You got the 16 pick and a great wide receivers there. Take them.
Yeah, I like Mekhi Lemon, especially like in a slot. Moving around like that, he kind of reminds me of he's got the comparison to Amon-Ra St. Brown, not just because they both went to USC or whatever. Some of the combine stuff was pretty weird. I don't know what was going on there. His pre-draft process, I think I've heard that he's scared off a lot of teams, but the talent on the field is actually really good. Don't hate anyone having him at wide receiver 1 at all. So I think this is a great pick. The Jets need a lot of stuff, but wide receiver is definitely one of them. Especially since Adonai Mitchell, while really good route runner, really talented. Can't seem to catch the ball. So just trying to build a really great team for their eventual quarterback they draft in the next coming years. Maybe Darren Missa. That's my guy. But trying to build out a really good roster for that eventual quarterback should be priority number one. And having multiple weapons is a good way to do that. Like that's kind of like the Falcons did. They just never got the quarterback. But yeah, I like the pick. Q, you up at 17 with the Lions.
I'm not going to waste too much time. Another run to the podium. The 17th pick, the Detroit Lions are selecting Monroe Freeling, need tackle. I guess Penny could be at left tackle for a year, but if Monroe Freeling could play right tackle, like could play left tackle, then you could keep Penny on the other side where he's natural at. And then again, another set of bookend tackles for Jared Goff for the next, 5 years. And I personally don't have no qualms with Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is cool. He's productive. As long as he's protected, he should perform like closer to a top 10 quarterback because that's what we've seen. And one walked out the door. You bring one right in, young, so to learn. And the offensive line unit is still solid enough that if he's solid, they should be still a top 10 line.
All right. The Vikings, I like the pick though, by the way. They obviously need offensive line. They lost a lot. It's their biggest point of weakness, especially for a quarterback like Jared Goff who needs protection in order to succeed. We saw that when the protection broke down this year, that's when their offense struggled. So I like the pick. Number 18 with the Vikings. I think it's a team that doesn't have a lot of needs. Very well built team. I was kind of scratching my head a little bit when their GM got fired. I'm like, well, he built a great team. What's going on? But obviously the draft picks have been pretty bad. Which they've built a good team almost in spite of the drafting. And they spent a lot of money in free agency where the cap situation is not great. So right now, at least, I guess the objective is to maximize JJ McCarthy. I want to say.
No.
Huh?
No.
Yeah, I don't.
Kyler.
Well, yeah, they did get Kyler. So I guess the objective is they have to see who their quarterback is going forward. I think it should be Kyler. I was low on JJ McCarthy. Never been high on him. Glad he made the NFL as an Illinois native. But just never saw it with him. He didn't have the starts. He didn't have the talent in terms of like he didn't have a crazy arm talent. Didn't have he's not a crazy athlete. Didn't really process the game extremely well or anything like that. Didn't have like great size. So I'm pretty much set on him not working. But I think Kyler Murray, especially, has been a little underrated. And I think people have written him off a little bit because it didn't work in Arizona. But I think KOC is, if anybody, I don't like looking at me like that. I didn't write him off. If anybody can bring out the best of the quarterback, it's KOC. I think this team, if all goes well, can make the Super Bowl. I'm serious. I do think they can do that. In the NFC. The Seahawks are still there. The 49ers will be back. Eagles, they might lose AJ Brown, but they have competition. But I don't think there's like one clear juggernaut in NFC. The Seahawks are still there, and you could make the claim that they are. But I think this team, if Kyler Murray can harness this talent that he has, I still believe he has. I think this team can make a trip to the Super Bowl, and whatever happens can happen there. That's I don't know why I said all that, but I just think that they should be trying to maximize the current roster right now. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Dylan Thieneman. Safety is a position of need for them. They had great years with Harrison Smith, and I think sure the safety spot with Dylan Thieneman is a great move for them. Don't think they have a lot of holes, but this team has been built around their like amazing defense. And Brian Flores has got it done year in, year out with especially not great talent in the secondary. And so adding him to the secondary, I think, is a great move. And I could even hear Jermod McCoy here, but I think he had a down year a little bit this year at Tennessee. So I can be convinced into it, but I'm gonna go with Thieneman. I'm sorry, at 18 for the Vikings.
Thieneman is a really interesting player because I think when it comes to relation with the Vikings, I think that Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo might be the better player, but I think Thieneman is the better fit for what the Vikings need. Thieneman has better range. I think he is a true post safety when it comes to tackling from depth. I think his tape at Purdue, he showed that he can be a little bit more center fielder. I don't think he's that good in man coverage against slot receivers. But when you're the Vikings and you just need depth because their safety room right now their secondary in general has just been ravaged. So I think when you already have Josh Metellus, who is better closer to the line of scrimmage, I think adding a guy like Thieneman will make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. I figured this is another one of those I think kind of chalk picks. Not because of like there's a lot of things that just scream like this should be the pick between the Vikings. You got Harrison Smith, so Dylan Thieneman should be where now you got to old or young, make them learn. Now you got another safety for 10 years, whatever the case may be. Could have went McCoy here as well because they've gotten production out of their corner unit, but they haven't had like a real true, like really, really super talented corner. But yeah, it works. I think Warren is better, but like you said, for what they're trying to do here, if like Warren reminds me kind of like Emmett Warren and the things that he does like around the football field. So again, talent, you could go a lot of ways with the talent with the Vikings, and they just need surefire picks, so they could, they haven't had great draft picks, but I think this is a pick that should hit, and they're trying to win games, like playoff games, not like build around their rosters, but they're trying to win playoff games. You need stars.
So I'm up here with the Carolina Panthers. And if I'm the Panthers, I'm sprinting to the board. This is a lot. Lock it in. This will be super fun. With the 19th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers select Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. I know they've spent multiple first-round picks on wide receivers. I know they spent four top 50 picks on wide receivers. But Casey Concepcion is so good and complements what Teteroy McMillan and what Jalen Coker do so well already. It feels a lot like watching the Panthers this past season. It felt like when you're watching an NBA team full of guys that don't really have floor spacing ability. So the offense is all packed in with guys who shoot mid-range jumpers. They need a floor spacer. They need somebody to open up defense to allow McMillan to work the middle of the field, allow Jalen Coker to work the middle of the field. Casey Concepcion does that. He creates separation. And I think with that, he can get down the field in a hurry. He's an elite return man, and it's going to make so much sense for Carolina. And when you are in the final year, you're trying to see what you got out of Bryce Young on his fifth-year option before you got to decide to pay him. I think adding a receiver would really, really help turn that offense up.
I was shocked when you said that, but again, if we're especially when it comes to NFL team, we're in the process of maximizing quarterbacks and not wasting years on quarterback contracts and potential and trying to see exactly what you got. Their defense played very well last year. I don't think they have a lot of holes on it. They could use maybe another corner. They could use maybe another edge rusher, but I don't think they're glaring. Wide receiver, they lit a pick on fire picking Xavier Legette. He just isn't the answer. Jalen Coker, they got lucky to find in like the 4th round, but he does a lot of different things. Same thing with Tet, like he's 6'4", but you want him, catching the ball in the middle of the field, making people hurt because he's 6'4". KC not only has lined up on the outside, but he burns on the outside. He gets going. There's yards in between him and the person that's supposed to be next to him. I think he can make plays in this offense. And you got to see what you got. Still got to see what you got in Bryce Young. Last year was a great sign. You got to see what it really is before you make super, super big financial commitments. And let's give you everything we got, everything we can to possibly see what you can be at your best before we start throwing money. And wide receivers, wide receivers just do that for quarterbacks. And this fine pick for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Xavier get really tough. I mean, he's still on the roster though, but so we can't really. I mean, yeah, it's just not gonna work out.
There's always time, but
Yeah.
we can't be we. There's always time for him, but that doesn't mean the Pacers are gonna be there or gonna be waiting for that time. So they have to do what's best for them as well.
Yeah, I think they could if they would have got Sadiq, that's a really good pick for him because just giving that safety blanket for Bryce Young as a smaller quarterback will be really great for him. But Conception, I think, is talented. I was hoping he was going to be there for the Chiefs later on, but no luck. So, bold move. I'm sorry.
I said, "This me up next with the Cowboys."
Yeah, it is.
What did you had the Cowboys first?
Yes, I had to pick David Bailey.
With the 20th pick, Dallas Cowboys select Jamal McCoy. Talented corner, obviously has injury issues, but if everything seems to have checked out, ran the fast 40. So I mean, 40 time when we come to combine and we come to draft season, 40 time and being healthy it should be okay. Need a piece in the secondary. Now they got an edge and they got a corner to position the need with that safety room that they spent money on. They have the D line. They pretty much reshaping their defense. Obviously, they're going to add some depth pieces second, third round, but we pretty much see they're starting off at their starting defense should be fine once you slide in McCoy into the defense.
McCoy's 2024 is the best sophomore tape. It's the best individual piece of tape out of this entire corner class. He didn't play in 2025 because of a torn ACL, but his 2024 was better than anything any of the corners in this class have. Now, if you're really worried about the knee injuries, I understand passing on him, but the Cowboys and their secondary, they cannot afford to pass on a guy like this just because of his injuries. He is such an impactful player, such an elite athlete. He got back to his pro day, ran a 4.38, jumped 38 inches. That seems pretty good to me. So I think he would be a steal.
Yeah, I like it. Position the knee, and I think if the Cowboys walk out this draft with this collection of talent, they're going to be one of the winners. You're going to come back and say that they're one of the winners. And you're going to come back and say that their defense is going to be much better next year, especially to support the offense. The offense was one of the best in the league when it was like at its ceiling is one of the best in the league. So not having all that pressure on Dak and CD and George Pickens is going to be really good. So I think that these two picks go a long way to making it happen. I believe it's my turn with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a weird team. Need quarterback, not taking it here. Need running back. I wouldn't be mad with a wide receiver. They need a lot. I don't like this team and what their talent they have on the roster that much.
In a draft where like you need a lot of needs because then you end up doing something that you didn't really want to do.
And as an Alabama fan, I kind of want to go Caden Proctor here, but I do have some concerns. I mean, I had the pleasure of watching him all year. Really great athlete. Like I've never seen anyone move at his size like that ever with Caden Proctor. But he is that size. Like he needs to. His weight fluctuated, but he's really heavy. And he needs to continue to keep his weight lower. This also wasn't that great at pass protecting. The allure of Caden Proctor is how freak of an athlete he is for his size and how well he moves. But in terms of his actual technique and like protecting the passer, I think Blake Miller is better. And I do think this team needs tackle. They don't have their quarterback of the future right now, but again, I'm a really big component of just building your team so that whenever it is time to draft that corner, or I'm sorry, that quarterback, you'll have it ready for him. So I'm going to go Blake Miller out of Clemson for the Steelers here.
And it makes sense because Broderick Jones still hasn't recovered from his neck injury. I think there's been a setback in his recovery. And he also wasn't very good in 2025. So in this, you can move Troy Fatanu, who played left tackle at Washington. You can move him from right to left. And Blake Miller, who started 54 career games at Clemson at right tackle and still only 21. He started at Clemson the minute he stepped on campus, constantly improved. He's also 6'7", 315 with 35-inch arms and ran a sub 540. Like those guys are going to get drafted round one because, I mean, it's hard finding 6'7" people out in like real life, regardless of if they play sports or not. And if you find a 6'7", 315 guy and you're trying to find an offensive lineman, there's a good chance that guy's already signed to a team to be an offensive lineman. So Blake Miller would really help them start to keep what is a pretty good offensive line unit, make them even better.
Yeah. Trenches. So big, tall people with good feet, hard to find. And if you're going to play tackle, you're going to start 50-something odd games. You're ready to play, even if you're maybe behind someone. It's the Steelers. You're starting. You don't even got to worry about it. Run to the board.
Yeah, his pressure rate is super low. And again, I like Caden Proctor, and I'll move on from here, but I like Caden Proctor. It's just like, in terms of actually protecting the passer and the technical parts of playing offensive line, he's just better there. So that's why I went with Blake Miller over Caden Proctor, who I think he should probably slip to the second round, to be honest.
So I have the Chargers pick here at 22. And I think they're going to go edge. With the 22nd overall pick, I do think I know where I'm going to go here. With 22nd overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select TJ Parker.
Yeah, please.
I think Parker he's an odd prospect for me because I think he's a fine player. I think he's okay. I think he has some nice qualities, and I think he wins with one move, the bull rush long arm that he has, and he plays with a high motor. But there are questions about what happened at Clemson in 2025. Both he and Peter Woods just did not play well in 2025. But when you can generate speed to power, when you can get push, I think that's going to be attractive to the Chargers, who, if you notice, all their edges, Tuli Tuipulotu, Khalil Mack, you think about Bud Dupree, they all win with power. So I think they're going to want to try and find the Khalil Mack successor. I think Jim Harbaugh values high football character. TJ Parker is a high football character guy, high character guy, and I think he's going to be the pick here at 22.
And I had like both. I liked a lot of people from Clemson. Clemson just as the season went on, and just as you say, they just weren't playing as well. But again, I know Mesidor's still on the board. This is first round. We're talking about with fifth-year option. We're talking about a lot of money. I can't, especially if most of your production came once you're like 20, 22, 23, 24, you already in like more athletic than most of the people he faces. And that's not to take away from Mesidor because he said to go out and do it, but I'd rather take that, just a little bit later, maybe like 28, 29, 30, I'd do it. I just want to do it right here.
It's you with the Eagles, Q.
Oh, the Eagles on a spot. From what we know, most likely AJ Brown's not going to be on the roster. That does not mean I'm going to be taking a wide receiver right here because I need to replace AJ Brown. The Titans did that, and they end up taking Treylon Burks. You don't have to do that. Take team needs and take best players. But that Caden Proctor is not the best player, best player available. But I think the Eagles will be taking Caden Proctor here because Lane Johnson's almost like he's 35, maybe 40. I don't know. I know he's not going to be around for long. And same thing with Jalen Carter. You get him into a room where you got his college teammate, you got Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, who's adults, and you can help, one, learn a position, but also learn how to be a pro adult and things like that. You can do the same thing on the other side with Caden Proctor, who they did with Jordan Mailata, I'm pretty sure Jason Peters was still there with Lane Johnson when Jordan Mailata got to the Eagles, and now he's a Pro Bowl All-Pro tackle. You do the same thing with Caden Proctor. He learned from them, and now once Lane Johnson's gone, you have him on the other side of Jordan Mailata. I think that's perfect, and that's what they should do, not try to chase A.J. Brown with this pick right here.
And he can also play guard right away if you want him to. You can play him instead of Tyler Steen. So you have your guard for right now and tackle of the future. Howie Roseman has always drafted linemen early and often. Defensive, offensive, he attacks the trenches early and often. And I think this year is not going to be any different. I think they're going to go offense because they're going to try and get cheaper as their defense becomes real expensive. Caden Proctor here feels like a Philadelphia Eagle.
Also, Landon Dickinson also deal with injuries and mold retirement as well. So to that move inside and play guard point.
All righty. I'm there with the Browns. Cleveland Browns. Gonna add them to the actually we should already have them up here. The Cleveland Browns at 23? 24. All right. So my first pick, I also picked for the Cleveland Browns. I think that was Spencer.
Yeah.
So I would take tackle. I will be looking here to get a wide receiver. The wide receiver talent at this point isn't the best. Personally, my favorite player on here is Jeremy Bernard. I think Jeremy, not that I'll pick him here, but Jeremy Bernard, I'm gonna sing his praises for a second just because. Just an extremely great safety blanket for Ty Simpson this year. When Ryan Williams massively underwhelmed what we thought he was going to perform, and he lined up multiple different places on, outside in the slot and was productive, just very sure-handed, solid route runner, very good athlete. Not going to select him here. Omar Cooper Jr. is someone I'm looking at because I think he was also kind of the similar thing I just said about Jeremy Bernard, like very sure-handed, very good safety blanket. Lined up multiple different places across the field, and it was just very reliable for Fernando Mendoza. Him and Elijah Surratt, I don't think are like super great players, but just I'm very confident in them being like solid NFL guys. And I think that's something you need for your rookie quarterbacks or second-year quarterbacks, young quarterbacks. Just a sure-handed guy that can play in the slot, win really quickly, and be red zone threats as well. So I'm going to go with Omar Cooper Jr. here at 24 for the Cleveland Browns.
And he's also really strong after the catch. He's the guy that's 6 feet, 199 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, but he's built really well. And where he won at Indiana is primarily out of slot and after the catch. He's really strong, has low center of gravity. And I think that'd be really nice in Cleveland to help maximize their offense. 25 with the Chicago Bears. There are a lot of places I could go here. I could go tackle, but this guy's on the board, and Dennis Allen is not going to pass him up if he's on the board. With the 25th pick, Chicago Bears select Keldrick Falk. That is, I think if Dennis Allen were creating a defensive end or an edge player or even defensive lineman overall, whether you think it's a defensive tackle or not, if he was creating one in the lab, it looked like Keldrick Falk. 6'6", 275 pounds, super good, super high floor run defender. And I think that's what he's going to come in and immediately do. I think his pass rush production in 2025 was limited, but I think that was also due to the defense that he was playing in. In 2024, he showed a lot of pop. I think he showed a lot of potential as a pass rusher. And I think what he just needs is time on task to get reps, to get those reps in as a pass rusher. So I think you get that, you get him around Dennis Allen, and I think he can immediately be a run defender to help supplant Austin Booker on rundowns, and you can kick him inside on pass rushing situations.
Hey, I got scared that you was going to take a player that I wanted for the next pick, but this also works well in their favor because they drastically need D-line help because Montez Sweat cannot be like – he's obviously still going to be their best edge player, but he also, can't do it by himself. When he was at his best, he was on the other side of Chase Young along with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen all on the line. Like, so you need to build that together because last year's Chicago Bears relied heavily on turnovers, and that's, iffy. This is year to year. You're not going to get that same luck again, like, especially if you don't have, Pat Surtain and Derwin James back there. And Kevin Byard, who led the league in picks, is not there anymore. So you're going to want to, you just need some type of pressure. That'll help you more than, because you can have corners and and safeties if you can't rush the passer and get pressure, they're not going to be able to cover anyway. Bills at 26, like I said, got scared. They could go trenches here, but they drastically still need help in the secondary, specifically at safety. And we just seen a safety basically change the defense. With this pick, the Bills are going to be selecting Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Rangy safety, could do it all. Him alongside Cole Bishop. With Christian Benford, Maxwell Harrison, we can show us something this year. You have a solid secondary with Jim Leonard coming over from the Broncos, along with it. Ed Oliver healthy, Greg Rousseau is cool. Deion Walker, they've spent a lot of capital on the interior D line in the past 2 drafts. So they just need to get there. Deion Walker was good last year. Ed Oliver was just hurt, so I think they have the makers of the D line, especially with some big bodies there. They just need help in the back end, so they won't get susceptible to big plays. And that's a perfect pick right there. I don't think you can go wrong with safety, especially at this point in the draft. You're just going with solid players, and that's still one of the best prospects in this class.
The Bills were, unfortunately, on defense in 2025, they were both small and slow. You can't be small and slow in the NFL. And I think McNeil Warren allows them to get bigger and allows them to get faster, which is something they drastically needed on defense. I do worry a little bit about sometimes McNeil Warren sort of freelances, but when you have him in Jim Leonard's defense, I think it's going to really help him out in his career.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been thinking about the fact that I passed over him since I made the pick. I think this is a home run pick for the Bills, and what they need for their team. And he's got a lot of comparisons to some great corners. Some great safeties. And I trust him. I think he should definitely go higher than this, is what I'm going to say. I think I should have selected him for the Buccaneers. I think that was a team I selected, I believe. But yeah, I think he's just a long, lengthy, rangy corner, can move side to side. And freelancing, I agree with that point. I just think that sometimes I let my safeties too take those risks and try to make a play. This is a defense that needed someone to freelance a little bit to try to make a play, try to create a turnover, and take those risks because they had to make up for the size deficit that they had last year. They needed to play like this on their roster last year, frankly. So it definitely will come back to bite him against some of the smarter and more experienced quarterbacks in the league until he learns how to truly bait quarterbacks at that level. But I think that if you can harness that and learn and try to teach him how to pick his spots with that freelancing ability, going outside of coverages like that, he can be a really great player in this league. So we're going to go next team up is the 49ers, who dealt with a lot of injuries this season. But I think this was one of their best, Kyle Shanahan's best coaching seasons of his career, honestly. Just being able to get the production out of the offense and defense. Obviously, he doesn't cover the defense, but just getting the most out of this team this year is why I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL, obviously, but arguably the best in the NFL. But long story short, they got Mac Evans this offseason, so won't go wide receiver. I do think the offensive line is ready to attack. Trent Williams is obviously still very good, but getting up there in age. I could be convinced into linebacker. I think losing Dre Greenlaw.
He's back now.
I'm sorry?
He's back now. He's just back.
Yeah.
Well,
he's back. But losing those two guys last year was really detrimental to their defense, obviously. And maybe having depth is a good idea this year because Fred Warner is coming off an injury. They have had injury issues. So I do think about CJ Allen here. And that's where I'm going to go. CJ Allen, linebacker from Georgia. And the premise of this selection is trying to get depth at the middle of the field, where that's how they've built their defense over the past few seasons. In case Drake Greenlaw is just out of it for his career. Fred Warner, unless he goes down with injury again, hopefully he does not. Getting depth at the linebacker position is, I think, very important. So I'm gonna go with CJ Allen, and that's the basis of my pick. I think he's a really great athlete, and he needs to. He's pretty raw, but needs to like harness like that the more technical side of his game. And I think they can teach him. And learning from Fred Warner is always great, obviously. So they can just get his technique a lot better. He has the athleticism and the tools to be a really good linebacker in this league.
I think that's the thing with CJ Allen. I think he allows Fred Warner to play a little freer if you want to have him start next to Warner. And I think CJ Allen has been a little bit overhated in this draft cycle. I mean, the dude was playing linebacker for Kirby Smart at Georgia as a freshman. And in his final season, he talked with Brett Coleman, a friend of mine who at the combine, who said that Glenn Schumann allowed CJ Allen to call plays at points during games. So when you have a guy that's cerebral who has started a lot of games for Georgia in the middle of defense, I don't know, maybe it sounds a little helmet scouty, but I just think the guy is going to be really productive at linebacker.
Hey, I'm fine with that. If what you said is true, I would say if he was calling defensive, be able to beat a Mike, which is like, I guess from outside looking at it, I guess that was like the knock on him. If he's just like a see ball, get ball type linebacker, but if he's to do more things, be able to see the plays, call plays, change things up, that makes him even more valuable. Especially if you're gonna be next to Fred Warner, he'll be able to pick some of those things up. Like Patrick Queen, who I thought was of the same type of mold. I watched him at LSU. I didn't think he was like a Mike. I just thought he was see it and go get it. But he got better to the Steelers because he was with Roquan. So they're going to be able to pick up some things. They're next to Fred Warner, the best linebacker in the game.
All right, 28th pick. The Texans are here on the board, and this pick would make me mad as a Jaguars fan, and it probably should terrify the rest of the NFL. With the 28th pick, the Houston Texans select Caden McDonald from Ohio State. That is the one piece that they've been missing in this defense, is a true nose tackle that can help them stop the run. They're already really good, but adding a guy like Caden McDonald, who not only can stop the run, but make plays behind the line of scrimmage. I understand that you're worried about his pass rush production, but when you're so good on first and second down, I can just take you off the field because we're already in 3rd and 14. I'm willing to live with that. That's what the Eagles did with Jordan Davis, essentially, and they went and won a Super Bowl. So I love Caden McDonald. I think that he is a guy that is going to go a lot earlier than people think because of how valuable stopping the run is going to be in the NFL moving forward. But the Texans getting him here is terrifying for the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, this is what I mulled over pick at the Bills pick for some reason. Big bodies, it's hard to come across that, and he's eating up blockers. But like I said, I think they've used a lot of resources on the interior D line, specifically nose tackles. That's why it went with safety. But you're right, this absolutely scared me because one thing I think the Texans needed help at, even though it's hard to say they need help on defense, was interior D line, specifically stopping the run. And I think like that helped translate to like the back end of their linebacker unit, even though I like LZs and all, the rest of the room. But yeah, nose tackle is pretty much definitely what they need, and that'd probably make their defense perfect.
The Chiefs, Q.
Oh, this won't be my last pick. You sure you don't want this pick?
I mean, they got who they get? Oh yeah, I'll take it. With the 29th pick, the Chiefs are going to select.
Hold on. Can I?
Go ahead.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show. I have to go. This has been very great. Don't do nothing crazy with the Chiefs pick, please. Thank you.
I think that the Chiefs could use a wide receiver. Here I don't like anybody right now at this spot. And I do think they've been good at getting later round wide receivers and getting the most out of them. I do think they wanted to come away with one of the top 3 receivers in this class. And I think where they probably go is wide receiver first and then cornerback second. That's probably the most likely where they go. I'm thinking about it. But here we are, and they went cornerback first. And so now I think they go edge. So I'm going to go Akeem Mesidor. at 29 for the Chiefs.
I think
And
Mesdor. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mesdor fits for them because I understand the age here, but he already wins in a different way than the pass rushers that Spags already has normally do. So I think he will allow Chris Jones to play a little more freer as defensive tackle when it comes to rushing the passer, because they need somebody other than Chris Jones to get after the quarterback. And Mesdor, while I do have questions about his upside at the NFL level, has proven he can be an NFL a complementary pass rusher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's been apparent watching the team over the last 5 years. They just haven't consistently had another guy, another athlete to rush the passer outside of Chris Jones. He's getting up there in age. Not sure how much longer he has to play. And so I think they probably go. I think there's a lot of possibilities what the Chiefs do with this pick. But I almost think they probably is try to extract the most value out of number 9. So maybe they go David Bailey at 9. Maybe they try to get Ruben Bank to slide to 9. Getting the edge rusher first at 9, and then getting the cornerback second. I'm really interested to see. This is one of the teams where I'm very interested to see what area they go, what route they go in this draft. They're going to be one of the most interesting teams to see on Thursday. But I want to go position of need with both of these picks, and obviously wide receiver, cornerback, edge are the biggest for the team.
So Dolphins here at 30, they picked Carnell Tate earlier.
Yep.
I think they have to address their secondary at some point.
Yep.
So with the 30th pick, the Miami Dolphins select Chris Johnson, cornerback from San Diego State. With the way that Jeff Hafley plays his defenses, he wants their corners to be aggressive, in your face. And I think Chris Johnson has such good vision in zone coverage with long enough arms, and he ran a 4.4 40-yard dash at San Diego State. It honestly looked like he was a little bit bored by some of his opponents because they just weren't at the caliber of what he expected. But he was one of the best corners at the Senior Bowl. He had 2 pick sixes in 2025, so he has that athleticism. And Miami just needs defensive backs. I wouldn't be surprised if they doubled up from day 1 and day 2 on corners.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the worst secondaries I've ever seen last year. Legitimately terrible. Everybody knew it going in that their cornerback room was going to be very bad. After the Minkah Fitzpatrick move, it was like, yeah, this is going to get very, very dark. So I like the move. I still like Avion Terrell a lot. I like him a lot. I thought you were going to go there, honestly. I think he'll probably go in the first round, but I think it's a good selection in terms of position of need. I would probably prefer Avion Terrell, but I don't hate it at all. You talked about him being that fast at his 40 time. Definitely has boosted his stock since the combine in the last few months. So I can see it for sure. But the Patriots don't think they have a lot of holes, especially if they're getting AJ Brown. Wide receiver is definitely not a position of need for them. I do think that they need a tackle. It was very apparent throughout the playoff run that Drake May didn't have a lot of time. And it is pretty tackle heavy. It's been tackle galore so far. But I'm going to go with Caleb Lomu from Utah here at pick 31 to shore up that side of the offensive line for them. And I think Will Campbell, I'm sorry. It's been 1 year. I'm out on him. I like him. I like him at guard. I've been saying this. Unfortunately, his arms are too short, and also he's not very strong. That's a bad combination to have. So I'm gonna go there and then move him to guard. Personally,
the benefit with Lomu is that he's super young. He's a redshirt sophomore, and he's got a lot of room to grow. And because you have Morgan Moses already, and Will Campbell will get another year at left tackle, I think you allow Caleb Lomu to add more strength to his frame. He needs to improve his play strength. I think adding a couple more pounds would really be helpful for him. I wonder how heavy he played at Utah. I think he might have played around the 308 range, which is really light for an NFL left tackle. So you add a couple more good pounds on on him. He might be ready in 2027, which is perfect for when Morgan Moses is eventually off the team. So this is an investment pick. This is like a draft and stash, and I really like the idea for New England.
All right, you're gonna finish it off with the Seahawks with the 32nd pick.
We're gonna round it out with the 32nd overall pick. The Seattle Seahawks select Chase Bizantis, guard from Texas A&M. And I went with Bizantis because, honestly, the Seahawks don't really have a lot of needs. Interior offensive line is probably their biggest one. Bizantis is a guy where I think he is going to go a lot higher than people think. He's a refined pass protector, really smart. He played really well during the playoff run for Texas A&M, and with that right guard hole still being temporarily filled by Anthony Bradford, you can have two really athletic guards in Gray Zabel and Chase Bizantis and further solidify that offensive line.
Yeah, I think with some of the losses they took this year, this is a very important thing for them to do. Grabbing the guard. That's a team that doesn't have a lot of holes. This is a luxury pick for them. And so they, with a move like this, you look in the playoffs and be like, thank God they did that. And so I think in the grand scheme of things, this is one of those picks that puts them over the top. This is like a ceiling raising pick for them. This is a pick that a lot of teams don't make. And then you like, if they would have did this, they would have potentially avoided issue going forward. So I like that for them. And it probably be viewed as a little bit of a reach at that spot. But if you're confident in that, I love it for sure. And that's going to do it for the mock draft. JP, I appreciate you for taking time out of your day. I know you've already been on TV, so talking for 2 more hours basically it's probably really taxing. I hope you get some rest after this. It's NBA basketball on right now. So we're gonna put this up tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we get a really great draft. Some shocking stuff happens, like it does every year. But that's gonna do it for this video. Love y'all. Like the video, comment who you think your favorite team is gonna draft, and we are out.